Make some noise for your host, Kid Copious.
What up, perps? Kid Copious. Back in the bunker, Purple State Party. You know what we're repping here, man. America, common sense, the center, and getting rid of the left. Yeah, I said it, getting rid of the left. And that's because, like today's title, 50 Shades of Brandon, I'm getting tired of this stuff, man. Look, I want to be impartial. I want to take on both sides. I want to call out what's wrong. And it just seems like what's wrong nowadays is all about the Brandons, man. You know, Elon Musk says it best here. Biden is a damp sock puppet in human form. He is just a puppet of the far left. And it's getting worrisome. I think Bronco sums it up pretty good here, you know. Meanwhile, in Iran, you know, death to America. I think Brandon's got this. And that's what he's doing. That's what he's allowing to happen. He's not stepping up and trying to protect American ideals. He's not trying to step up and protect American interests. You know? And he's got the media doing his dirty work for him. And let's look at that. I mean, because the media is really here to distract us. They give us the information, and then they try to cover it up. And it's really interesting how that works, but that's how it works, I guess. So here we'll just start. Whoopi Goldberg's in trouble, you know. Idiotic statement, and now we're going to bicker back and forth. And we're going to call each other hypocrites for this and hypocrites for that. You know, she's under fire. Yeah, she's wrong. She's absolutely wrong, and she's a fucking moron. But the solution is, like I've always subscribed to, don't watch. I don't watch The View. I don't listen to Whoopi Goldberg. I mean, I'm cool with her as an actress and a comedian. You know, or as a funny lady, I guess. I don't remember if she did stand-up. You know, but she's suspended. Okay. The Holocaust, she says the Holocaust wasn't about race. Yeah, it was. It was about a lot of things, you know, but at the end of the day, it was about the Nazis believing that they were superior to every race and every way of life. And that should be discussed, you know. Candace Owens laying into it, and she brings up the whole point about the distractions right here, you know. Whoopi Goldberg gets suspended for a rant against Jewish people during the same week that she demands Joe Rogan's censorship and removal. You know, I just happen to like this one here. Hopefully I found it and it made it into the broadcast here. Oh, man. Okay, you know, and she mentioned Joe Rogan, and, you know, here's a poll. Joe Rogan has a greater approval rating than Joe Biden. Okay, I'm sure that's probably true. Sorry, Boomer, we like Rocket in the Free World. Yeah, his song Free World was more anti-American than pro-America. You know, he's a Canadian. I don't know. I just included this because I thought it was funny. Old man, look at your life. You're a lot like she. You know, but and it exposes what the left is all about right now. The Brandons, the Brandon army, is all about censorship, and I'm really confused by that, because the people who are demanding Joe Rogan be silent or they're going to pull their music. These are the former hippies. These are the people who fought against censorship. But I guess they're willing to trade their own personal morals for the good of their team. And that's what disgusts me about both sides. That we can't have educated discussions and debates about things anymore, because it simply boiled down to defending your side. Right or wrong, defend your side. You know? And give in to all of these distractions and make it out like Whoopi Goldberg and Joe Rogan and Neil Young are the most important things out there. And they're not. I'm about to just launch into it right now. And we're going to see a lot of other things that came up that are barely receiving the kind of conversation that Rogan and Whoopi Goldberg are getting. I mean, look at this. BLM transferred millions to Canadian charity to buy a mansion formerly owned by the Communist Party. Okay? What's this all about? Yeah. It's looking like it was a big scam. It really is. And she's been one of the co-founders here, Patrice Colliers, has reportedly been linked to other groups with spending red flags. You know, not all charities are what they purport to be. Not all organizations are as noble as they want to be. Right here, see, this is a scam. She transferred money to a charity that her wife was running that then bought a bunch of real estate. I don't understand that. How does that help? I don't understand why you need like a $6 million mansion to help the people you say you're going to help, unless it's just like this. I think they figured out how to make a quick buck. Say Black Lives Matter, and then just buy a bunch of lavish properties. It's unbelievable what they've done. The Indiana Attorney General is starting to look into their financial doings. They've raised a lot of red flags. They don't have a board. They don't have a chief financial officer. They made mistakes on applications, tax forms and things like that. They put down addresses that didn't exist. It's gotten so bad that one of the most liberal places in the whole world, California and Washington, have instructed Black Lives Matter Global Network Foundation to stop soliciting funds from citizens of their states until they give information on the 2020 finances. Because they took the money and ran. That's what they did. I mean, that's what they did. And they're still taking donations from those places. They haven't halted. They haven't slowed down. They're facing serious charges here now. I mean, it is ridiculous. And this isn't about me going after Black Lives Matter because I don't think Black Lives Matter. It's the contrary, man. I'm tired of seeing black people taken advantage of. And then it just turns around and it makes that community feel like that they're entitled to take something, which then makes people view them in a negative way. And it's just a vicious cycle. Here's another thing that they would love to keep under wraps until it's done. See, CBS has to report it, but they're not going to talk about it. They're not going to promote it. They want to be able to say that they're fair and unbiased and they're a news source you can trust. So they mention these things, but they don't discuss them. They don't promote them. I just said that, I know, but it bears repeating. There is a new bill to require parents to report gun ownership to schools. It seems like a good thing, but it's not. It's another slippery slope. What happens when a school decides that if you own a gun, you can't send your kid to public school? Because that's the next step. You know, that's one of the things that I want to be known for. I want to be known for the person who points out the slippery slope before people fall down it. You know, because we can't trust these people anymore to tell us the truth. I mean, the Washington Post, you know, says that DeSantis blaming Florida's surge on COVID season is misleading. They said that back in August of 21. And then in January of 22, what is that? 4 months later, 5 months later, they say that COVID-19 transmission may have seasonal spikes due to weather. Huh. Okay. So, in other words, you're the ones who are being misleading because you're saying that DeSantis was misleading, but it turns out he was right. And that's what we need to look at. Man, we need to be focused on these things that we're being told are incorrect and then turn out to be correct. We need to see through this stuff. Kamala Harris blames Congress for not acting on Biden's border crisis and says amnesty is the top priority. Look at this. They want to just legalize 11 million undocumented immigrants. I love how they phrase it. They are illegal aliens. They snuck into our country illegally. That's what happened. You know, we need to recognize problems and not try to sugarcoat them because this is not sustainable. We cannot move in people at the rates that we're doing right now and expect it to turn out well. This guy really sums it up from the UK here. Fantastic. Just make them legal for breaking the law. Presumably people like me in the United States on a green card will be getting a refund for all the government and lawyer fees. No, you won't. You're a sucker. See, that's what they're telling these immigrants who are doing it properly. You're a sucker. You are an absolute sucker. Is that really what we want to promote? Is that really what you believe in? Or do you just believe in it because it's your team doing it? Look at this one, where we were talking about distractions. The Ukraine president, he doesn't seem too concerned. He's used to Russia posturing. We're trying to move troops into the area. We are trying to make Ukraine part of NATO. Russia gets a little upset and puts troops on the border. Okay? That's what's going on. All right? More than likely, there's not going to be an invasion. More than likely. But we are hyping this invasion to distract from some of these other things that are going on. Nike fired a long-time employee, a manager, over refusal to upload his COVID shot data. He doesn't want to give his personal information to a third party. Well, how do we not understand that that's not always a good thing? Come on, how many times have you put your email into something and now you're just flooded? I was at a Trump rally by accident, I must say. Just so happened I was working in the area. I stopped in. I got a cool flag. And now every day I get 2 or 3 pieces of email deceptively trying to get me to donate to this cause. I don't believe in that cause, man. I'm Purple State, man. Hi. Okay? I'm my own cause. Stacey Abrams spent millions on private security. Again, really easy to talk about defunding the police and being soft on criminals when you can afford to spend $140,000 in 2 months. Upwards of $1.2 million in 2021 on private security. See, if somebody's paying for it, because it's probably coming out of the campaign, you don't care. You don't have to worry about random homeless people stabbing you when you've got bodyguards. Bodyguards might get stabbed, but they... Okay. Up in San Francisco, you have a DA who is threatening investigators. And what? They're threatening investigators in cases involving the police. And in this case, she was not allowed to say that a police officer was beating a woman before the police officer hit the suspect with a baton. That's kind of crucial information, don't you think? So you could paint it, for no reason, the cop came up and started beating on this guy with a billy club. Hit him with a billy club for no reason. But there was a reason. But the DA wants that suppressed. The DA, by the way, the son of 2 domestic terrorists, is siding with the criminals. Huh. He's trying to tear down the police. Huh. Gee. Is that what happens when you hire the prodigy of a terrorist? Hey. Okay. California universal health care failed to pass. Couldn't even get past the Democrats. Democrats control everything here in California, even this was too stupid for them. So we'll cover it up. Don't talk about the failure of universal health care. No, talk about Whoopi Goldberg. Don't talk about Nancy Pelosi's son being linked to a fraud and bribery scheme. His name is literally on the paperwork. But let's not talk about that. Let's talk about Joe Rogan and Neil Young. That's more important than the son of a politician being brought up on corruption charges. Speaking of Pelosi, look how... And somehow she is going to get reelected. Because these people will just go with their team on both sides of the fence. I don't want Pelosi back. And I'll be honest with you, I don't really want Trump back. My brother said something that really stuck out to me. He said, I hope Trump wins because Biden can beat him. I'm worried about DeSantis. See, that's important to know. But yeah, she's back. Lizard face herself is coming back with more of her left-wing shit. She wants to ruin the country. And more, you know what? Forget about ruining the country. That's the side effect. The main thing is she wants to keep people distracted so she can continue to make millions of dollars playing the stock market. That's what she really wants. She wants money and power. And she knows she needs to keep you in your camps, right and left. Because the middle, we're not going to tolerate this. We're not going to, the middle doesn't look at somebody like Nancy Pelosi and say, yes, I'm going to support that. We say, no, we're not going to support that. She's a radical. I don't care if you're right or left. If you're a radical, you have no place in Purple State. You have no place in the center. What about Brandon, another Brandon Jr. here? Hunter Biden undercut U.S. efforts in Ukraine. Isn't that great? The son, I mean, people badmouth Donald Trump Jr. all the time. They badmouth Ivanka Trump all the time. But did either one of them end up being called by the U.S. State Department, undercutting? No. Some more Brandon shit here. I'm starting to feel better for Psaki, but you know what? I think she made the deal with the devil. I think she knew what she was getting into because she lies. She says that the job numbers were affected by people being out sick. And that's just a bald-faced lie. If you work for a company and you're on their payroll, you count on the jobs report, whether or not you were sick for a week or not. Okay, people being out sick has nothing to do with job numbers. She laughs off the soft on crime. What's the big deal? Again, if you live in a plush area and you have Secret Service or you have guards or you have the police or whatever you have, very easy to laugh about crime. And then they spend their time asking her whether or not he's going to nominate a gay or an Asian justice if the Supreme Court spot opens up. And again, I'm surprised they haven't put out a list yet, but they undermine these people when they make it known that they're picking them based on racial or lifestyle choices. Or lifestyles. I shouldn't have said choices. But, right below that, state leaders call for mask mandate reevaluation. After maskless photos of Gavin Newsom and LA Mayor Garcetti and San Francisco Mayor London Breed appeared at the championship game in Los Angeles. You see how this works? They get caught and then they say, well, you know what? Masks weren't really doing much anyhow. And look at this report over here that says that the lockdowns didn't work. We need to reevaluate it. Really? Okie dokie. And then Garcetti comes out and says he was holding his breath. And he says there's a 0 chance of infection from that. How is that not misinformation? How is he not being canceled? That's misinformation. That there is not a 0. If you are holding your breath out in public, okay, which you can only do for a little while, so eventually you're going to have to breathe. I guess you put your mask back on. There are other ways of contracting this, okay? It's a microscopic virus. It can find other ways. So he's spreading misinformation. Mayor Garcetti is another busy week for the bee. There they all are. All the people who want you to mask up your kids, they're hanging out at a football game, taking their mask off. They were shown on camera not wearing their masks, even when they were in their seats, not posing for pictures. But they want to force kids to wear masks. Do you see how little they care? I mean, does it sink in at any point? This guy sums it up really well. Gavin Newsom was caught not wearing a face mask because he's not afraid of coronavirus. He just wants you to be. Boom. There you go. See, and there's the evidence that he was called out. He takes off his mask for a picture, says, I was wearing my mask most of the game, shown not wearing his mask. And what else has he done? Despite the fact that California said we want to keep the death penalty, he put a moratorium on it, and he's dismantling death row. And he's going to move all the prisoners to different prisons and turn that section of San Quentin into a positive healing environment. He said it's an outgrowth of his opposition to what he believes is a deeply flawed system, one that gets his blood boiling. Really? Okay. That. I got to cover this. This was just clickbaity as hell. Black and brown federal contract workers get pay raises thanks to Biden's executive order. Really? Okay, so according to this, almost 400,000 federal contractors are going to get wage increase. Half of them are black, and you notice Latinx, because they don't give a shit if you don't like that name. That's the name that the left has decided is going to identify you. So learn to like it. But again, half of them are black and Latinx. So it's not just black and brown federal workers. It's not. All of them are. White, Asian, black, brown, they're all getting a raise. Half of them belong in two boxes, and half of them belong in two other boxes. Or however many other boxes you may have out there. You know, because I don't want to forget, like, the Native Americans. I don't want to forget all the groups. But, again, it's just clickbait. Meanwhile, their policies are coming back to bite them in the ass. Portland City Council meeting erupts over homeless encampments. Existential threat to business. And they're talking about having to move out of these places. There is a plague of meth and opiates and a world that offers them no hope and little assistance. That's the world of the homeless. And nobody's doing anything about it. Nobody's got the balls to fix the problem. Self-aware addicts get help. But there's not a lot of those out there. When you hit the streets, you're no longer going to ask for help. You're just going to try to survive. And eventually, the depression and the addiction will take over your life and makes it impossible to ask for help. You have to be forced into it. You have to be forced into that moment of clarity. And then once you've sobered up or you've gotten your mental condition under control, then you can make decisions about your life. But as long as they're just out on the streets, they're going to keep doing what they're doing. Oh, man. Just so much stuff goes on. Makes it hard for me to keep these nice and tight like I want. Anyhow, Pelosi tells Olympic athletes, do not anger the CCP. Yeah. Isn't that great? What the fuck are we even doing over there? And how do you people support that? You know, the left is against the police and the Trump tactics of the smoke grenades or the tear gas and all of that. But yet China runs tanks over protesters. They jail reporters. They jail dissidents. You say you're for racial equality. China takes one group of people, enslaves them, and then rapes them to make more slaves. You claim to be about the environment, but yet they're the biggest polluter on the planet. And then you scream about capitalism, and China runs a capitalist economy. But unlike here, they're not free to take advantage of capitalism quite like we can here. Anybody can start a business here. Human rights, that's a big thing for the left. No, China doesn't give a shit about that. Free speech, nope, same thing. They do, however, side with the left on gun control. And you wonder why. That way they can get away with all the rest of their bullshit. So there's no reason for us to be at the Olympics. None. We should not have gone. And the Olympic Committee should be disbanded and rebuilt. Because this is bullshit. All right? China lied about the coronavirus. They spread misinformation about the coronavirus. And we reward them by letting them host the Olympics. I believe in less government. I believe in fiscal responsibility and all those things that maybe Republicans used to believe in, but don't anymore. Clint Eastwood. Republicans are just politicians, folks. They're just the same politicians on the left that are on the right, and they're trying to screw us. That's why I sit here every week and do this. Because unless we break away from these politicians, we're doomed. Simple fact. It's not in their best interest to enact term limits. It's not in their best... Of course they aren't intentionally killing small business, destroying the middle class, transferring wealth to the ruling class, and dividing us with fear. But if they were, what would they be doing differently? Nothing. Because they are intentionally doing this. They're trying to take us back to feudal states where they can do whatever they want and we can't do anything about it. Facebook greenlights human smugglers. I get it. What they're trying to say is they want to be able to help the people who need amnesty. But you know that that's just a cover story, right? Because we know how this turns out. You know, look at COVID relief. Look how much that was plundered by scam artists. We know what these things lead to. We have to be smarter than that. We have to know that every bad idea can be cloaked in a good idea. You can vax the entire planet, but you can't feed the starving. Yeah. You know, I'm just so disappointed. I'm so disappointed as an American to see where we're going with everything. It's just very disturbing, and it's very difficult when, you know, you've seen beyond the curtain and you know what's going on. Because that's what's going on. They're willing to spend billions of dollars on vaccines. Fine, great. But you can't feed the starving. And you allow people like Neil Young to besmirch GMO. So now other countries ban it, reluctant to use it. So we can't grow as many crops. Washington Commanders unveil new mascot, General Custard. Yeah, it's such a dumb name. Such a dumb name. And sadly, again, it just goes back to trying to eradicate the past. I really do believe that the truth of the matter is that we are systemically removing Native Americans from the public conscious. But, you know, the Native Americans wanted to stay on their reservations. They wanted to preserve their old way of life. And that's great. I mean, I applaud them for it. But, you know, it's not working out all so well. Yeah, you can point to a few tribes that are making a lot of money off casinos, and they do okay. But a lot of problems on the reservations. And when we remove all of the team names and all of the emblems, how long until we just forget that they even exist? Joe Biden beats out Brussels sprouts for America's least favorite vegetable. I've seen that one going around a lot. Now that's kind of what cued me into the 50 Shades of Brandon, was seeing all those different colors down there. He's doing a bad job. I understand that people didn't like Trump, okay? And Trump did some things that you didn't like. I got that, right? But honestly, after all that we were through for the last 4 years, look what we're in 1 year in to Biden's presidency. Look how ugly it is. Look at all the strife. Look at all the distractions. Look at the rampant inflation. And he tries to blame it on this or he tries to blame it on that, but we didn't have this. We didn't have this through 2020. This came almost immediately. Because he immediately wrote so many executive orders, we couldn't even keep track of them. I love this one. Let's go, Brandon. The corporate media, decades of deceit and lies. This is all Joe Rogan's fault. Yeah, in a way it is Rogan's fault. Rogan and people like him. Because we just keep chipping away at all these lies. And, eventually people do believe it. And that's the only hope we have left, is that people start waking up to the lies and all of that. Hey, look at that. There's the hammers. New sticker for the day. Socialists condemn workers of the world for uniting. Again, that's about the trucker protest up in Canada. I wanted to cover that, but, Are there any countries that tax their citizens and send some of it to Americans? No. Answer to that, Fry, is no. No. Biden quietly withdraws Whoopi Goldberg SCOTUS nomination. Oh no, Biden promises to end cancer just like he shut down COVID, and now we all have cancer. This is my worst episode ever, I think. Biden calls 877 cash now to solve the 30 trillion national debt crisis. Yeah. Again, I don't know what to say. He wants to add to it, and then people on the left say, well, look how much Trump added to it. But if Trump added so much, and fine, he did, okay, great, whatever. He added all this money. How come we didn't have the rampant inflation then? Are we really buying this whole thing that everything takes 4 years to, in other words, like, Obama, he did okay, but then the 4 years of Trump that were good was all because of Biden, and the 4 years that Biden's bad is all because of Trump. I mean, I don't really buy that, because I see, like, some of the stuff that Brandon here has done that leads to higher fuel prices, which leads to higher transportation charges, which lead to higher prices across the board. It's the way it works. Everything's transported. Tom Brady retires after suddenly realizing he's on the Buccaneers. I'm a Patriot fan. I mean, it's right there. So, yeah, whatever. Poke fun at the guy. Man who hasn't attended live meeting in 2 years loses all ability to mask facial expressions when idiots are speaking. And what about the kids who are supposed to be learning those things? Yeah, they're in mass. Groundhog refuses to emerge to see shadow until Rogan panned. That was one of my favorite ones. That's my favorite one of the week. I don't even know where to go. Your boy is just... I'm really down because we're still allowing the distractions to, rule. Everybody they play into these distractions. And we're not seeing anybody coming clean about their side. Again, I've said this so many times. Democrat or Republican, it's not a team. It's not an insignificant thing. These people are making policies that affect our day-to-day lives. And they are far removed from these policies. They're doing these things to get reelected, to get elected, to get contributions, to get money from lobbyists. They're not doing it in our best interests. And we have to figure out a way to stop it. And the only way that I could think of is to somehow strip both of these organizations of their power. Because quite frankly, I'm fucking sick of it. Copious out.